We're going to talk less about complicated terms, but more about vibes, feelings, and
100%.
important stuff.
100%. This is not scripted. Uh, and this is like a fireside chat on both sides where Philip is going to ask me questions and I'm going to ask Philip as well. So we will keep it casual and open. But before getting into it, I don't know you. I mean, introduce yourself. You're from here. I'm from somewhere in Kuala Lumpur. So
Um, so, I'm Philip. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Soulflare. Why I'm at this panel? Because I have been raising in hot markets and in bad markets. I've pitched to hundreds of investors, and there are a lot of things that you have to actually care for while raising. But back to Soulflare, basically we're our crypto wallet on the Solana blockchain. At the moment, we have more than 4 million users who hold more than $20 billion of assets with us. And we raised a seed round back in 2021 that was 15 times oversubscribed. So we could pick and choose every investor that we wanted, sold our terms, and we could do whatever we wanted. And then in 2023, when the whole market crashed after FTX, I don't know how many of you have seen FTX, we tried to raise again, and then I talked to literally 200 investors, and every single one of them rejected us. So it was quite hard, but it all basically came around last year, and in 2024, we did $50 million in revenue. Well, we're doing quite well right now, and we're ever growing at this point now.
awesome. And one thing that he has missed is that Soulflare is the third biggest crypto wallet in the world. So if you don't understand any of the numbers that he has thrown, just remember that they are third biggest. Am I right?
Yes, I mean, if we look at specific numbers like revenue, definitely. So we have a very engaged user base who actually uses our wallet.
Awesome. And myself, I started my startup in 2017. I was actually part of this global accelerator program called Antler. They started their cohort in Singapore, and what it does is like you come up with an idea, you don't have a product, and you go through 2 months of incubation period where you are finding a founder, you're working on your idea, you're going through a product market fit stage, and then eventually you pitch it to the Antler team and get the first pre-seed round, which we did, and then we scaled our startup in Pakistan. That's where I'm originally from. It was called Auto Sahulat. Sahulat is an Urdu word which means comfort. It was an on-demand mechanic platform. And then I took an exit from it, and then I joined Kareem, which is a ride-hailing joint in Middle East. They started in 2012. I joined in 2018. I joined their leadership team in their B2B vertical, where I was providing, ride-hailing services to enterprises. So that was entirely a new business vertical that I had to build up from ground. We started with a team of just one, me, and then we start adding people in, 8 to 10 people that were, running the country and eventually the region. So we had a separate dedicated fleet that we brought in for the enterprise sector. And after that, I mean, there's a journey to it, AWS. But if you want to read more about it, there is a book that is obviously on Amazon called Bytes Beyond Borders, BYTES. I published it, I authored it, and it's basically a hybrid memoir that talks about my entrepreneurial journey, starting from Pakistan and how I got into where I am today. So you can get inspired or learn a lot from it. But coming back to you, like, why Soulflare? Like, were you a crypto boy? You invested in Bitcoin early and then you lost your wallet or something? Like, how did you came with Soulflare?
I mean, I got pretty early into crypto. I mean, when I say early, that's 2017. And if anyone thinks that nowadays it's a wild ride, 2017 was even more wild and unexpected. So 2017, I really got the bug, so to say. But it was more of the speculative nature because, I mean, I could see all those lucrative opportunities in front of us. But the thing where my whole mindset changed was actually in 2018, where I was at a crypto conference in Malta. And that conference was right after the biggest crash that happened in crypto. So you have to imagine 5,000 people that are at a conference like this, 5,000 people who paid for their tickets, for their accommodation, for their travel at the peak of the bull market. So when everything was well, and now they're at a conference where all their investments and everything has gone 80 or 85% down. So during these 3 days, I was just like talking to people and asking them, how is it going? And every one of them, so nearly every one of them said, okay, I mean, I'm rethinking my life choices, how I'm going to explain that to my wife, and all of these kind of different answers. But while I was waiting for coffee, actually, I met one super interesting guy from Algiers. And I asked him the same question, hey, how's it going? And he told me, wow, it's so nice to see that 5,000 people believe in this technology. And that was like a little bit of a pattern breaker for me. I would tell him, well, like, why exactly? And then he basically told me the story that for him, crypto actually means freedom. So he said that at any given point in time, his government can make up some stupid reason, get onto his bank accounts and seize his funds. Basically just freeze them, and he is at the mercy of the government. And he said that with crypto, basically, with the self-custody aspect of crypto, he's actually free. So he has dollars, like digital dollars, in his account that nobody can take away from him. And that was like a real mind-shifting story and experience that I've got from then. My whole experience about crypto changed then because I realized that crypto is not buy low, sell high, but crypto is actually the idea of self-custody, so that you have something that nobody can take away from you, and nobody has access but you. And that's incredibly powerful, and I think that this should be like basically a basic human right. And from that point on, I was basically looking for opportunities in the crypto space to actually build like a wallet and get to that opportunity to basically spread that whole idea of self-custody. And this is what we're doing right now. So out of those 4 million users, the most users are from the US still. So we've got 1 million users from the US, but we also get like 800 or 900,000 users from Nigeria. And those users out of Nigeria actually use our wallet for the self-custody aspect. So they are they're very engaged. They're not revenue-driven generators on our side, so they're not giving us any revenue, but they're engaged users. So they have they pay their salary, they get their salary onto crypto because nobody can take it away from them. And we see like a huge demand in those markets too. So when someone sees like basically our profile, it's very rich Western countries like the US, Europe, and everything, and those countries, and the emerging markets where there's actually like a huge demand for it. So the speculative side and the self-custody side. We maybe as Westerners, and I know that I'm going on a tangent, but I'm going to finish it up. We as Westerners maybe don't feel that need as much, so because we actually enjoy a lot of freedoms that the other parts of the world don't. But we see it when banks, for example, freeze one of our transfers. So you want to transfer out 10,000 euros to someone else that you didn't do a transfer before, the bank will actually stop that transaction and actually call you to see, okay, is this really something that you would like to do? And then you have to triple confirm it. And maybe that takes, I don't know, 5 days until that gets done. And it's an inconvenience. It's not a life or death type of thing, but it's still there. So that's about me. I would love to hear from your side. So when you were at Kareem, specifically, did Kareem raise funds? And how much and how was the process there? So were you involved in that by any chance?
Not directly involved, but we raised around $600 to $700 million since 2012 till 2017. And in 2017, there was an acquisition that happened with Uber for $3.1 billion. And this is what the Uber did in most of their markets, right? They either went and win that market themselves, or they had a regional heavyweight player. So they acquired some stakes in that and let them operate. So similar pattern in Southeast Asia. Over there, there is Grab, equivalent of Careem. I think Uber has 20-25% stake in it. They tried competing with it, but they couldn't because Grab again had a local angle, which Careem had in Middle East. And that is what worked for them. Although when the acquisition was happening, a lot of employees were not happy about it because they were like competing with Uber. They were like, this is a giant that is coming from US and we are going to compete and we are going to throw them out of the market and all of that. But eventually, a lot of people got rich. And the best part of that is that out of Careem, there were like 148 startups that were created in Middle East and in South Asia. All of them my ex-colleagues. And why they came up with this, I think, because they went through that journey of starting from, actually Careem started from a small room by two of the founders that left McKinsey in 2012. And they had this register where they used to, book limousines for corporate people. So it was like a corporate ride hailing. That's how they started from one room and eventually became what they are. And then once they had that acquisition, so a lot of employees went through that scale of, starting from one city, opening other cities, and eventually countries and regions. So they said they can do the same. They had that confidence. And they went out and they were successful in raising as well at that point in time, because VCs would love to talk to you if you are ex-Careem. So that worked for them at that point in time.
So let's get back to the topic of bad money. How many of you actually are here that want to raise, have raised, or are currently raising? Can we get a hands up? 2 people who have raised. 3, okay. When we get into raising, so you have raised for your first startup too, right?
Yeah, I did. But I want to come to you, like when I was raising, the concept was like burn cash to raise more cash, burn cash to acquire growth. Once you are out of the cash, you have the acquisition, you want more acquisition, then raise more and do that. Keep doing that, and eventually, magically, somehow, you will be at a scale where your numbers are going to make sense of it. How is it different from you?
Yeah, this was very much up until 2022, where all investors was just basically saying, okay, you just need to drive user acquisition. Revenue doesn't even matter. Revenue will come. Money was ubiquitous, so you could get funding whenever you wanted to. But that quickly changed after that and after COVID. And then now revenue and profits are, again, something that most investors are really, really looking for. But that's actually a good point, is like when it comes to spotting bad investors or bad money, or how do you pick the right investor? I think the single most important thing there is alignment. So if you are on a track, if someone tells you, if the investor tells you, hey, the only thing that you need to do is burn cash, burn cash, burn cash, but you actually want to build a business that wants to drive revenue and profits, then you're not aligned. So even if you get that investor, so he invests in you, and every month you get to talk to him where he pushes you to burn cash and you don't want it to, it's going to make your life miserable. So if you're not aligned with what you want to do with the investor, then that's a partnership from hell, in a sense. This is like the first step to that. The first step to actually avoiding that is you need to know what you want. Because if you start raising funds and you actually don't know what you actually want to do with those funds and how you want to run your business, then someone can come in who actually has opposing views and it's not going to work out. So before, and we've made that, I would say we were close to making that mistake, but eventually we basically just said, okay, it's not worth it. especially when we needed that cash. So when 2023, where we were basically just surviving and we needed that cash, we had one investor, but he was pushing us in a direction, like in a product direction that we didn't want to. And he was not as much into the business as we were. So we just had more insight in him. We know that we just needed to stick it out, but he wanted to do something else. And that's one of the things I would say that is crucial when picking investors.
And if we talk about right now with AI coming everywhere, and you are integrating it into all of your startups, enterprises, and VCs actually love to talk to you if you have something going on in the generative AI space, and they will fund you as well, and there are insane amount of funding that is happening. Actually, 60% of funding that is happening right now in the market is in AI startups.
But it's also because of these mega rounds in OpenAI, Perplexity, Mistral, and everything else.
So what do you think about it? Like, it's crazy, like Thinking Machine, without having a product, to my knowledge, has raised a seed fund of $2 billion. This is insane.
It's insane, but we have to go back to what VCs are. And VCs are, I mean, I hate to say it, but VCs are they have a very herd-like mentality. So if they see 5 VCs...
FOMO.
And FOMO, yeah. So if you see 5 VCs going in one direction, you see 50 other VCs also going in that direction. So there's, and I know there's maybe some VCs in the crowd, but there's not much critical thought in VCs. Because at the end of the day, they have to explain their positions to their LPs, so to their investors, to their limited partners. So if they say, hey, I've invested in this company because A16Z also invested in a company, then that investor, I mean, he can say, if they made a mistake, I mean, I also made a mistake, but who would have thought? Because they are one of the biggest funds in the world. So it's basically just, I mean, washing away their guilt for bad decisions. But it's very different for A16Z with a $18 billion fund to make an investment, or for them with a $100 million fund to make a $2 million investment. For A16Z, it's just basically a lottery ticket. So it's, oh, okay, this seems interesting. Okay, let's write a check for $2 million. But if you have a $100 million fund and you want to invest $2 million, that's quite a decent check size for your fund. So that's a huge allocation actually on your end, because you have to make like a larger number of investments to actually make the fund work. Then that doesn't work out. So when it comes to Gen AI or AI in general, we all know that AI is going to be like the future in a sense. So we are going to integrate it. I still think that we still don't know how exactly this is going to work out. So in a sense that, okay, we see ChatGPT working in through a chat-like interface, but I don't believe that chat-like interfaces are going to be the future of how AI is going to be used. So AI will be used in a way that you don't even see that it's AI in the background and anything that is going on there, but you will just feel the benefits of it. So when investors are going for AI, then it's again that herd-like mentality. Just how they went for crypto in 2021, honestly. But there were a lot of companies who didn't deserve to get funding, a lot of companies who didn't deserve to get huge amounts of money for basically no products, no traction, no anything, but they still got it. Why? Because it was a hot market. So,
and then many of them went out of the business as well. And then VC realized that it's not the right approach or the playbook that they should be following.
We're going to see the same thing with AI too. So what's there to stop OpenAI, Perplexity, all of those to basically have the same offering as all of these wrappers out there that are currently existing? Okay, there's also like a very different, there are different levels to wrappers, or basically companies that use those foundational models. So some of them are just using the model and have them prompted a little bit differently, but others are building their own models like on their data and training that model in a different way. So like Cursor does or Replit does. So that's a little bit different. So that's way more complicated than just like prompting it a little bit differently. but still, like I still believe that a large amount of all of these AI startups that are currently being funded won't survive or won't get to an exit point for all of these investors.
What I see, and there's another trend that is also happening that you may disagree or you can share your insights. Like founders are not crazy about raising the funding anymore as they were back in my time, right? Because you have this vibe coding, you have these multiple AI tools, your productivity has increased phenomenally if you know how to use them. So probably you don't need 20 developers. You can do with 5 developers or maybe even less. So you're not spending that much on hiring the workforce because most of your things are being controlled through AI integration. And then why would you give your equity to VCs that will probably have a board seat or will start influencing and telling you which direction or vision to take? So you're not going to raise. The ideal thing to do for a founder is actually not to raise and become profitable, and then everybody comes running at you.
That depends. That depends on the startup, on the industry, because you can, for example,
Would you agree, like, this is the landscape? I mean, that's what I'm seeing,
I
at
would
least
agree. I would say agree that there's a trend because with progress, all of these services that previously had to be in-house are getting commoditized, and you can just sign up for them. So it's easier. You don't have to have like a 100-person team to actually manage 200 people. So it's gotten a lot easier on that front. And I agree with you. Like the more control that you have, the better it's going to be. But again, VCs are not a bad thing. So VCs are actually they help you a lot if you have the right partners. So you have to look at them as partners. So they're not just capital providers, although capital provisioning is the requirement to getting into this, but more as partners who will help you with introductions, who are going to help you with basically just being your sounding board when you do stuff. So, for example, I have one investor where I'm always nervous before our call because I know that he's going to give me shit if something is not right and I'm not seeing it. And I'm actually thankful for that. So I'm thankful for having these monthly conversations because he has given me another perspective based on his vast experience and actually helps me correct the course if needed. So I don't think that investors per se are bad. It's just like there are bad investors out there.
That begs the question, like, how would you select a VC? How would you select an investor in today's time?
So
if you have to
in
guide.
today's time, so it's like you have to know that when you're signing up with an investor, it's like marriage. So it's like a marriage. So you're going to be tied to them for the next 5 years, most likely, unless they exit through secondary markets, as we have heard before. And selecting an investor in 2 days is like marrying someone with just dating for 2 days. And those 2 days is most likely going to be like 2 calls. So it's 2 hours to decide if you're going to marry someone for the next 5 or 6 years. So selecting investors is a very tough challenge. But first of all, you have to trust your gut. So you have to trust your gut. You have to trust your feeling when you talk to them. So if it's a positive thing or a thing that basically reinforces you or gives you more security and more confidence, okay, that this is going to work out, then this is good. If you're already coming in and seeing them as, okay, I have, I don't know, a bad feeling when I talk to them, so it's just about, I don't know, something isn't working, then definitely trust your gut and don't do it because you can't fire an investor. So you can politely ask them if they want to sell, but they will just tell you to, no.
Would you say no to YC? You mentioned like...
If I'm at the beginning of the journey, then I wouldn't. Just because YC gives you so many connections that it's very valuable for all of the ongoing fundraisers and basically connections that you need. So YC is always a good pick if you can get in. But YC is also very trend-driven. So you see out of the last batch of YC, it's just AI companies that all the AI wrappers. 2 years ago, it was basically all crypto companies. So it's YC is very trend-driven, and this is also because they have so many connections to VCs.
But this is the trend I'm seeing in other VCs as well, because I manage these connections directly, not in this part of the world, but in Asia, Pacific, Japan. And I asked them, like I quoted them as well, like what are your plans for 2026? Like where are you focusing on? And 60 to 70% of all their funds are in AI space. So that's not just YC, that's happening across the board.
I mean, and that's also normal, because when you see companies that go from 0 to 2 billion in market cap, in valuation in a year, then you see, okay, this is the gold rush that everyone wants to get into. So just imagine that you've invested in, I don't know, a Lovable or something like that at a $50 million valuation in a year after it's 2 billion. So that's massive. That's a 20x on your fund. That can, you know that one investment can basically return your whole fund. And this is what everyone's looking for. I'm not sure. This is also props up the valuations because there's so much money around that you can again choose. So it's
and you know,
a cycle that
you mentioned Lovable. Lovable is one of the 2 unicorns that came out of the Antler fund. And Antler has been funding since 2018. And the other one is Airlu. It's from Singapore. It's an eSIM platform, which started in 2019 and recently became a unicorn. The other one is Lovable. So, and they have countless, I don't even know the exact number of investments that are there, but just because they were at the right time and capitalized the AI space, Lovable became the unicorn.
I know that we're short of time, but there's also like an interesting example out of the crypto space. So Lovable made that in a year. There's also a platform in crypto who has made 700 million in their first year in revenue. 700 million in revenue in their first year.
Wow, how?
So, I mean, it's a trading platform, basically, that made it super easy, but that's insane. But again, it's not AI, so it doesn't get talked about as much right now because you have topics that dominate every conversations. Right now, it's going to be AI, and it will be AI, but there are still other companies to be founded, and with that in mind, I know that our MC is already looking at us to wrap it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Filip. Thank you for being here, and I hope you guys got some insights from what used to happen back in the day in the funding landscape 10 years ago and what is happening right now and where do you want to go from here. We are here if you want to connect with us, and now back to the MC. Thank you.